Okay. Hello, everyone. It's the Sky Priestess, and hi. It has been a while since I did a video. I just want to give you, all of you, first of all, an update with the whole situation that I told you about a few weeks back. By the grace of Spirit, we appear to have pushed 90% of everything through. So we are well on our way to, establishing a life that is more in alignment with my own spiritual principles. And I want to thank the 20 to 30 people of this community who generously either gave gifts or offered generous loans for me to make this possible. And I will be messaging that group of you with a special link with a free session just by means of saying thank you. Doesn't matter if you offered a loan or a gift, my gratitude is there. We may still be needing some help, but I am doing my best to manage with whatever I already have. And of course, I am going to be spending a fair amount of this year repaying those loans. But either way, a really big burden is in the process of being lifted away from me and from my family. And I just want to acknowledge the community and, also express my gratitude, especially to those who were generous enough to contribute. So thank you all so very much. Now, and of course, for those who also held space as best they could. So there are some people who really, really came through, and I really got to see who had my back and who didn't. So thank you, all of you. So having said that, let's get to the focus of today's video. Today, I wanted to share what I would normally share with the Tier-23 group, just as a small thank you to the community as a whole, but also by way of being a solstice message. So I'm just going to be doing what I usually do for Tier-23, and it'll also give you a taste and flavor of that program. By the way, the mentorship program is also running and underway, and those of you who may be interested in that, drop me a line. So as I said, this particular installation actually just covers very, very few days, but these are very important days, which is why I also wanted to make this a community special. So the way I've labeled this particular installation is the truth of the self and the spiritual legacy of your presence. Each Tier-23 installation has a kind of thematic summary in the title, which gives you an understanding of what to expect. So I'm just going to go through it day by day by day, and we'll see how we get on. So having said that, let us dig into the material. I'll also have a space for questions and answers later, and we can kind of get back into it. So let us begin. June the 20th. This was already, for those of you who are actually in the program, this was actually covered in the previous installation, but since we're doing this as a live, we're also going to be looking at the energies present because it is very, very relevant to all of us as members of a collective. And of course, in the background, you can listen to Baby Juice because Baby Juice is saying hello to everybody in his own inimitable style. So, having said that, June the 20th, we're going to be seeing the Sun at 29 degrees of Gemini, squaring Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. So effectively, the Sun-Neptune square is an energy that can bring up just about anything, because Neptune is that box that cannot be defined, if you can even call it a box. With the Sun at 29 degrees of Gemini and Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces, these actually create a grand mutable cross, along with Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees of Virgo and the galactic center at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. So you can expect it to be quite significant. So at this time, especially as we head towards the solstice, what you really want to look at is the microcurrents of energy that you see expressed in your everyday life, your thoughts, your breath, your presence, whatever comes to your mind, whatever you sense, whatever you feel. Very often, people tend to pedestalize spirituality as something that is happening out there when it is not. Spirituality happens in all spaces, in all places, in all times, at the micro level, the macro level, and the medium level. And when we try to segment this to some separate realm, we are also effectively creating a shadow that we do not need. When we learn to see whatever is orchestrated through spirit in our everyday life, that is when we actually come closer to the divine. Running away from reality is not divinity, it is escapism. And on June the 20th, this will be brought back to home even more so with that sun at 29 degrees of Gemini that wants you to be aware, to have greater situational awareness so that you can actually understand the deeper psychic undercurrents of what is going on and how it is happening. So we will also be seeing that aspect to Black Moon Lilith in Virgo. This is also a time to be very aware of shadow tendencies towards control, towards neuroticism, towards over-analyzing, overthinking, holding too much anxiety in your gut, in your mind. And of course, those are the shadow sides of Virgo. But Virgo can be deeply restorative and deeply nourishing if you are willing to look at the needs that it brings up about. So look at what Black Moon Lilith in Virgo has been teaching you throughout this transit. Throughout its transit over the past few months, we have been really, really needing to look at the shadow that is behind service. We need to look at our own insecurities around service. We need to look at our own insecurities and our own triggers when we actually see people who are doing good in the world. Do we aspire to be like them, or do we aspire to tear them down? This is also something that I saw, especially when I opened up and said I needed help and assistance from the community. People reveal their colors. You accept it and you move on. But this is a time to also be aware of that element and dynamic in any situation of service, any workplace environment that may also come up. The fourth point of this grand mutable square is the galactic center in Sagittarius. Whatever you are doing, however small you think it has a far larger impact upon whatever you understand as your path of truth, your greater path of truth, with whatever you understand as your guides, your teachers, your philosophy, your paradigm, whatever it is. So do not take anything for granted. Whatever little thing that you may be doing, whatever little word that you may say, whatever little action or gesture that you may do, you may think it's a small thing, but you are communicating directly to a focal point in our experience of the universe. So June the 20th, be very, very aware of how you engage with whatever it is that presents itself to you. Also on June the 20th, and this alignment I particularly like, we see Pluto sextile Boracisi. So Pluto is at 1 degrees of Aquarius, Boracisi is at 1 degrees of Aries. And these are sextile energies. And I love sextiles. I love sextiles more than I love trines, because sextiles force you to get focused. Trines, the energy can just flow, and you can use it, you can abuse it, you can take it for granted. Trines does not mean happiness or success, but a sextile will force you to get really, really specific about how you want to work with energy. So with the Pluto Boracisi sextile, this is an opportunity for all of us to really be challenging the truth of what we understand as the self. Who are we as beings, and what has shaped our perception of personhood? Is this ideology something you learn from community, from social media, from the collective as a whole? Do you have misaligned guides that are fabricating images of spiritual transcendence when you don't really know who you are in the first place? These are the kinds of questions that you need to be asking yourself. Challenge your own illusions and look at the ideals or ideology behind which illusions have been sustained. And this is the work that all of us need to be doing. Now, I've looked back at several hundred years. Over the past few centuries, there are only a handful in comparison of years where Pluto sextiles Boracisi, and this is one of them. So you need to really be looking at how your relationship with the collective encourages you to either go down the path of self-deception or a transformative path of self-affirmation and truth. When you are aware of who you actually are as a being, that light is a pillar of truth. That light can guide you even through the most desperate circumstances. And that light is what we call spirit. Because when we strip away the illusions that have told us this is who we are, this is the conditioning that made us who we are, this is whatever programming we've had from this life, past life, it doesn't matter. When we strip those away, that is when we actually find the truth of being. And that is what we actually call spirit, because that's where we all originated from. Remembering this is a process of dissolution. I disagree with people who, see spirituality as a scavenger hunt. You got to collect all the pieces before you're whole. No, we're not playing Pokemon Go here. We are letting go of deception and illusions. And this is the time to be very, very aware of it. With Pluto and Aquarius, we see a lot of false forms of consciousness coming through. We see an abuse of technology that is underway, and we also see ideals within groups that do not actually create a sustainable world. They privilege the elite. And this is also a space in which you need to see what your truth is and what you truly identify with. So that is also June the 20th. We also see on the same day the sun entering Cancer. So of course, happy solstice. This will be a month where you focus more so on your emotions and the intuitive currents you pick up through your emotions. Now, a lot of people equate emotion with spirit, but they are not the same thing. Your emotions are a product of your conditioning. They are also, whether it's biological through the womb, whether it's psychological through your years of nurture and growing up, or whether it's things that you pick up as an adult. Your emotions are not who you are. The same way your body is not who you are. It is an expression of your spirit. When you understand that your emotions can tell you about how you feel about something as opposed to what is the truth, you can learn to see it as a barometer. But if we take emotions at face value, we miss out on what the actual truth actually is. Now, emotions can point you towards truth, but only when you see it as a barometer, not as truth in itself. When you get to the roots of your emotions, you ask the larger questions of why is this here? Where did I learn this from? Who taught this to me? Why do I believe this? Why do I respond this way? When you ask those questions of self examination and you look at the spiritual and karmic roots behind that emotion, and of course, that also involves family ties. What are the spiritual and karmic roots of family ties that led you to have that conditioning in the first place? When you look at yourself from this perspective, that is when your emotion can show you what your path actually is. It is not the emotion, but it is your reaction to it. So that is the level of discernment, that is the level of discretion, and that is the level of self-awareness that you need to be holding at this time to make the most of these opportunities, especially around the solstice. I would advise looking at the health of the stomach and to look at imbalanced relationships with food, often in response to anxiety, trauma, and panic. Whether it's undereating, whether it's overeating, whether it's binging on things that are not good for you, this is a time to really be trying to reestablish a healthier relationship with nutrition and nurture in general. Food can be medicine, food can be love, food can be nurture and healing in and of itself. And this is something to also remember as we face whatever challenges we may be facing in the next few weeks. Moving along to June the 21st. Now, this is an interesting alignment. We see Vesta at 0 degrees of Leo, sextile Sedna at 0 degrees of Gemini. Now, Vesta is, of course, the priestess, a facilitator. Sedna is the one who basically gets dismembered and left into an ocean to die. And of course, it's not exactly the most pleasant mythology, but it is a mythology that often tells us about the wounds of betrayal, especially at the hands of the patriarchy, and the power that those narratives have in continuing to shape our self-perception. So Saturn in Gemini is very much about how our words and our conceptualization of these events either anchor or release you from these narratives of victimization. And with Vesta sextiling Sedna, this is another focused opportunity for you to really be looking at what creative, expressive, passionate ways of being you can actually bring to rewriting old scripts and relationships with the wounds of betrayal. So this is where things like creative songwriting, singing, humming, anything that helps you flip the script will be very, very useful at this time. Whilst breaking the narrative of victimization it doesn't mean that bad things didn't happen, but it means that you are no longer disempowered by continually holding that energy of victimhood. From that energy, one has to step into survivor, and one step beyond that is the thriver, or one who thrives. So this is a way in which we can actually a framework that we can actually use to see how we can create new ways of engaging, new ways of being with whatever it is that has created such wounds within ourselves, whether it's our bodies, whether it's our minds, whether it's our voices, whether it's our limbs. This is a time for creative reframing and creative processing. So this is a good opportunity for that. June the 21st, I would also recommend artistic expression, dance, and using the non-dominant hand or non-dominant side of the body, as this can be particularly transformative. We also see on the same day Mercury, 9 degrees Cancer, sextile Mars at 9 degrees of Taurus. It's a good opportunity to make sure that your walk matches your talk. Be clear in your communications, make decisive steps towards the goals or directions that you have chosen in life. And it's also a good opportunity to clear the air and have honest conversations with the person who plays the role of the significant other or the masculine party in your life. Or if you are that person for another, the same thing applies. It is a good time for conversation and one that connects both intellect and emotion. So, it's a great energy. And again, it's sextile, sextile, sextile. So, opportunity for focused action. Trines often get wasted. And also on the same day, June the 21st, we see Jupiter at 6 degrees of Gemini, sextile Eros at 6 degrees of Leo. I do not romanticize Eros because I know the mythology. The man literally shoots magic love potion on you and creates feelings of love, which then lead to cycles of karma, which don't have anything to do with free will. And if you actually read that, you know that he basically has a relationship with Psyche, literally keeping her in the dark and basically telling her that he's this horrible monster. So, no, this is not a model for relationships, and anyone who thinks so needs their head checked. Jupiter at 6 degrees of Gemini, sextiling Eros at 6 degrees of Leo, does bring an opportunity for greater intimacy and enjoyment, especially in that sense. But Eros can lead you astray. It can tug at the hidden desires of the heart without care of consequence or karmic entanglement. But if you, again, as with emotions, if you actually sit with the pulse, if you actually sit with what are you being tugged towards, what are you being drawn to intensely, and why, then it can actually show you what you can really, really do to find intimacy. So don't take it at face value. It can be useful. Take it at face value. You might have fun in the short term, but you're going to have a long time filling the holes that those arrowheads have left behind and whatever karmic entanglements come up. So this is a great day for you to have fun, but in a non-committal way. It is a great day for you to do things that are joyful, but without trying to think that this is for the long-term end-all be-all. When you do that, that's when this becomes a trap rather than a burst of whatever it is that you're doing. So that is Jupiter sextile Eros. This is, again, following impulses just cause can be fun, but think through the consequence, especially if it's something very significant. Also on the same day, June the 21st, we see the Sagittarius moon aspecting Saturn, Nessus the abuser, Therius the hunter stalker, Psyche, Chiron, and Uranus. Long story short, be very careful with whom you offer guidance to or whom you receive guidance from at this time. This is a time where people are going to be triggered left, right, and center, especially in their understandings of what is truth and their understandings of rightness and the righteousness that can come with it. If you're working with a teacher or facilitator who has the maturity to deal with it, yes, it can be a great time for you to get guidance, but only if people can handle their own triggers. I have seen so many people try to work through times like this only to get overwhelmed and F up their own karma in the name of service. So if you are a facilitator, you want to be very, very clear around solstice time. What will you do? What will you not do? What is your area of expertise and what is it not your business to poke your nose in? This is very important for people who are giving and receiving services at this time, especially of an astrological, divinatory, or other guidance-based nature. Also, in terms of general travel, just make sure you got travel insurance, make sure you take basic precautions because Therius and Nessus are not anything to joke about. So, moving along to June the 22nd. June the 22nd, I like a lot because June the 22nd, we have the full moon at 1 degrees of Capricorn. And Capricorn is my favorite sign, not because I am Capricorn, though it's probably a part of it, but because of what it represents. Capricorn effectively gives you an understanding of legacy. And at the 3D level, that's usually status, that's achievement, that's some kind of accolade, something that says you are here at the top of the ladder. That's what modern society tells you. But culmination in this sense can easily be a mountain that has finally, through thousands of years, pushed its way up to its full height. That can also be culmination. It doesn't have to be seen in that modernist sense. But in everyday life, the full moon in Capricorn is about career, is about achievement, is about legacy, ultimately. And a legacy doesn't have to be grand or posh for it to be meaningful. It can be a very small legacy. But as long as it is something that is meaningful to you, that is what counts. As long as it actually resonates with your soul as something that you want to leave behind as the sum product of your material presence in the here, in the now, that is what counts. That is what we understand, or at least I understand, by legacy. So, especially around June the 22nd, look at things that are asking you to think about legacy in these ways. Does that mean material success? Maybe. Does that mean owning a big house? Maybe. Maybe it's creating, a practice of having a community garden. Maybe it's having a free library for kids who don't have access to other reference materials. Whatever it is, at this time, you want to be looking at what you can create and what you can culminate as legacy. And that differs for everybody. Also, look at the seeds set during the Capricorn new moon, which was 11th of January. You may see things that you set then culminating in the now. Also consider the emotional and the often familial roots that have led you to a particular vision of success and solidity or lack thereof. Sometimes what was supposed to create a foundation for you ends up being the thing that prevents you from growing because it was not aligned, which is why a lot of us have to kind of rip the old roots out and put new ones in. So, as you are walking towards standing tall at this time, make sure you have the right foundation. Make sure you have something that supports and nurtures and anchors you sustainably without taking too much, without giving too much, and point yourself in the direction of where your soul truly aligns with growth. Whatever you build, no matter how high it may be, must be grounded on the earth. A tall tree must have a strong root foundation and anchor to the soil, and it must be nurtured. Bear this in mind and see what comes up. Also, on the same day, we see Psyche at 20 degrees of Aquarius in conjunct Therius at 20 degrees of Virgo. Long story short, Therius represents risk. It represents danger. It represents predation, stalking, energy loss. It represents all of these things. Sometimes it is the perception of it, and sometimes it is the reality of it. But either way, the fear of the thing can actually lead you to go do things that harm yourself. And this is where facing Therius with faith rather than fear is key. So when you have Psyche in conjunct Therius, this is a time to really, really be looking at how our ideology, our higher order thinking, our ideals, the groups that sustain us, the visions that we want to flow with other people, are these things that actually practically give you the perspective to deal with Therius style risks. Or does your ideology crumble in the face of those risks? Or does your ideology block you from perceiving those risks accurately? Sometimes, even in the name of believing in the greater good, we close our eyes from seeing the truth of what is because we are too afraid to see it. And this is the kind of time where you need to be challenging those internalized belief systems that prevent you from seeing the truth of what is. There is more that can be said, but I'm already aware this is probably chunkier than normal for most people. But yes, generally speaking, look at why you walk the path that you walk and look at how willing you are to practically and honestly assess what risks you need to take into account. Also on the same day, we see the Sun at 1 degrees of Cancer in conjunct Pluto and squared Boracisi. And I talked earlier about Pluto and Boracisi and how it pushes us to be honest with the truth of the self and to understand that this truth is a flame that can light the way for us. So with the Sun at 1 degrees of Cancer, again, post solstice, aspecting Pluto and Boracisi at the same time, this is where you need to look at your ideology, your perception of selfhood, that feeling the inner of your innermost spark, and your general emotional body. And you need to see how the three actually relate to each other. And very often what we feel at the level of emotions, again, comes from family of origin and our immediate domestic space. And you got to ask yourself, is this anchoring false ideals into me? Is this anchoring a false idea of self into me? How can I shift this energy? And for those of you who are fortunate enough to have circumstances that align with your fundamental truth, great, nothing to worry about. In fact, it's more of an opportunity to express yourself in manifold ways. Intellectually, ideologically, emotionally, physically, it's a good time to be asserting that truth with others who resonate at the same frequency. But when you're not in resonance, things get uncomfortable. And this is something to be aware of. On the same day, we also see Mercury at 11 degrees of Cancer, squaring the mean north and south degrees Aries and Libra. Long story, communication can be extremely triggering for some people. Be very deliberate in what you say and how you say it. You cannot do more than that. You have the right to say no to communication that's deliberately going to upset you. You also, but just bear in mind that what you say may not always be received by the person in the same way that you meant to say it. And that is just something that you need to also bear in mind. If you are signing any contracts, especially any contracts that have to do with land, that have to do with home, understand that these contracts are a reflection of you and your commitment to others and the way in which you balance your energy with others. Do not sign anything unless you truly feel it is resonant of who you are. The nitty-gritty details lead to the larger picture, and vice versa. So be very, very careful with the spoken and the written word at this time. Last but not least, we look at June the 23rd. Now, June the 23rd, I am particularly excited about because Pluto at 1 degrees of Aquarius opposes Vesta at 1 degrees of Leo. And it fills my womb with joy. It is a great alignment because this is a time where we are encouraged, whether it's in matters of love, creativity, joy, play, whatever it is that brings us to life. This is a time where we are encouraged to bring that creativity, to bring that passion to collective projects, or to group ideals, or to whatever technological platforms that sustain you, or to working further with guides that help you understand the power of your own sacral energy as a positive, transformative force in the world. So this is something that can be truly great. However, if you are misaligned in terms of not working with the right guides or not investing your energy with people who actually value you, cherish you, and support you, this is also a time where that same energy can be used for misaligned investments. So this is where you really need to see whether or not the guides, the people, the groups that you work with are truly in alignment with that energy within, that fire of creation that all of us carry within our sacral energy centers. Doesn't matter what your biological state is, we all carry this. So this is a time where, again, your creativity can truly be channeled into a service-based expression that is sustainable and transformative and nurturing for you and for all those whom you seek to support. And it should work both ways. We are done with the time where one person stands and supports everybody. If we are not supporting each other, we have not learned the lesson, collectively speaking. We need to be creating networks of mutual nurture because that is the way we are going to survive. And a dear friend of mine keeps telling me this all of the time. So I just want to shout out quickly to her, and I'm sure she'll know who she is when she sees this video. But for those of you who need to pull away your energy from misaligned connections, it can be a very painful time. So be very, very aware of where you are putting that energy of Vesta and Leo. Are you putting it in the right thing? And if you need to pull it out, there will be discomfort around it, but it is what can help you reclaim yourself. Also, on June the 23rd, we see Vesta at 1 degrees of Leo, trine Boras to see the false light at 1 degrees of Aries. The same thing applies. Discern, discern, discern. It is easy to get caught up in false idealizations of the self. So what you're feeling about yourself here needs to correlate with the sacral and which direction it truly wants to go to. This is just a reminder of what has already been said in previous parts of this video. And last but not least, the Capricorn moon aspects Saturn, Nessus, Darius, and Chiron. Through all of these different activations, keep this question close to your heart. What is the spiritual legacy you wish to leave behind through your presence in this world? And what is the most aligned material expression of that? It does not have to be grand, but it does have to be resonant and meaningful. Having said that, that is a wrap in terms of what I would do for Tier 23. So you guys, guys, girls, everybody of different genders as well, have a little taste of what that is about. But I also do want to say hi to the community, so I am going to swap over and go through all of the comments and highs and, answer any questions on the material or any questions in general that may be coming up. So let's start from the top. I see Phoenix 44. Hello. I see Watchman. Hello, brother. I see Miriam. I see Graciela. I see Rajat. I see VB. Thank you for thinking of me. I see Kareen. I see Diary of a Ditch Witch. Hello, sister. It's been a while. And I see Hearts Unite. Hi. Hi. So just as a quick recap, in the first part of the video, I gave you an update on the whole huge financial situation I was facing and where we are with that right now. There's still more work to do, and I am going to message the 20 to 30 people who helped with free 15-minute sessions just to say thank you. And as a larger thank you to community, especially to those who couldn't contribute but were holding good space, I'm also offering this Tier 23 community special. Um, Jane says, the download from the Galactic Center. Good morning, all. Hello, Jane. Hello, Jane. So, and then we did what I would normally do for Tier 23. I just kind of did that here. So, it also gives you some potent guidance and alignment for the solstice coming up. So, this is basically what has been talked about so far. But I do want to say hi to the community. So if you have any questions on the material that has been offered up so far or anything else, let me know. I am here. Time to talk. So, how is everybody? I have been thinking of all of you, but I have been dealing with all of this stuff. So, I came online when I felt okay, I've done enough, I've processed enough. It's time to go touch back with the community. How is everyone? Do you have any questions or anything in general you want to say? Let me know. I see V Stormfeld. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see everybody. It has been a time. It has been a time. That's all I can say. And if you notice, Josh has finished his chorus once the astrology part was done. This boy does not like astrology. He really does not. But he also wants to emphatically express his resonance with the truth. So that's what he did. Bibi wants to know, is this a good time to date? Oh, this is a good question, Bibi. And I hope there's someone nice for you to date. Yes, it is actually a good time to date, but, um, this is definitely a time where, again, you in particular, you're going to make sure that that person is not a taker. And both of you are willing to give and take in good ways. So if you can manage that, then yes. And you got to make sure that your beliefs and their beliefs and upbringing have gel, have simpatico. So that's what I would also say. Jane says, looks like that's what I've been interested in. Spiritual legacy makes sense, Jane. We're headed for a Capricorn full moon. It's on the horizon, so it makes perfect sense. Heart says, I've been thinking about changing my job lately. That makes sense. That's a good time. This is a good time to be thinking about those matters. Rajat said, I'm going on vacation and leaving on the 22nd. Hope it goes well. I'm sure it will be fine. Where are you going? Or you can message me later. Vivi says, thumbs up. Good, good, good. I hope things go well for you. This is the most exciting question that you have asked me in the past few years. So I hope things go well for you, Vivi. Um, so, yes, yes. Oh, I'm glad people are doing things and getting on with stuff. That is very good. That is very good. So, what else have you been up to? What else have you been doing? Rajat says, I'm coming to a neighboring country, Thailand. Give me the dates, Rajat. Give me the dates. I'll see if I can pop by. It's really, really stupidly cheap to go and travel to Thailand. Let me see if I can make it. But give me the dates. So, Josh also wants to come along and see you if you can hear him. Give me the dates. Seriously, give me the dates. Oh, one thing I do want to mention. I have also been looking at this thing called, there's actually been a couple of things that I have been seriously studying and looking at in the past few months, because of my own situation. And these are just a couple of general things that are not necessarily connected to each other, but I do want to throw it out there because it could be useful information for people. What's okay? What's going on? What's happening? Why did this go full screen? Okay, wait. Okay, my phone has gone crazy. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. My phone has been doing that. Ever since I was, sorry, Rajat, you have to write that again because for some reason my phone got possessed. Basically, that's another story. I recently, to celebrate, and you can tell this is how much I celebrate. Once I finish handing all of that stuff in, I decided to resubscribe to Netflix because I was like, yay, celebrate. So then I started watching some movies for one day. And then my computer screen broke by itself mysteriously. So I've been using my brother's computer. So I started watching Netflix on my phone. Now my phone acts like it's gone crazy and it just randomly hits buttons by itself. Something clearly does not like me having a little bit of relaxation, but either way I push through. I've been watching some very nice K dramas recently. I watched something called The Angry Priest, which is about a priest who was formerly some counterterrorism a sniper type of dude. And I watched one about basically an acupuncturist who loses his ability to put in needles because of trauma and ends up becoming the first psychologist of Korea. And I'm watching something about a woman who basically has been trapped in a narcissistic relationship with her in laws and is realizing who she is and deciding to go back to medicine. So I have been having a little bit of downtime and feeling like I deserve that, but then my phone and my laptop have tried to make it as hard as possible. But having said that, in response to Rajan, yes, let me know. It'd be nice to see you and Dr. Chand. So, and hopefully my phone has unhidden you. Sorry about that. It got a bit weird. Um, oh yeah. So, and Soma says, hope that wasn't me, got digital instability. No, no. Trust me, it's not you. I notice this all the time. The moment I want to say something important, the internet will go, the phone will do something. The technology is not spiritually neutral, as I have said before. When it comes to my stuff, it particularly poses a challenge. But having said that, so there have been a couple of things that I have looked at over the past few months that I have been wanting to talk about, but it's just been one thing after another thing after another thing. And these are not necessarily quote unquote spiritual things. They are, but in a more subtle way. But there are a couple of things. So, number one, and this is something that more people should know about because I know a lot of you use cannabis for recreational reasons, for depression, for anxiety. And the only thing I want to say about it is this: if you are on ADHD medication and you're actually finding yourself more addicted, you need to look up something called cannabis use disorder because it can actually have a negative impact on ADHD medication. So that is point number one that I wanted to share because I had to look this up for a certain reason. I saw a friend basically suffer really badly from this, and they had no idea because their therapist didn't tell them. So that's point number one. Point number two, there's this wave like since the pandemic, things have been very, very, very strange. Things have been very, very strange, and governments all over the world have been doing bullshit. And effectively, what's happening is that governments are also creating this mandatory e-invoicing thing. And this is something that as a business owner, I need to be aware of here. And in Malaysia, they are forcing you to give details of your customers. So down to their passport number and address. So I'm actually thinking of setting up business in a different company because on top of that, they're not even willing to protect that data under the Data Protection Act. So those of you who are business owners, those of you who are engaging in online sales, just be aware of this happening in your country and look at whether or not your data is protected. So that is something which, again, not overtly spiritual, but it is part of that larger type of control energy that Pluto and Aquarius is also kind of pushing into perspective and into being. So that is also something for you to consider if you do an online business. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, apart from K dramas, which is fun. I mean, I get it. I get it. There are links between Tamil culture and Korean culture, be it in language, food, and so on and so forth. So when I'm watching them, I'm like, paint them brown, and I could honestly see this in South India. But apart from that, those are some of the things that have been honestly on my mind that I think is useful for people to also generally know. A third thing that I wanted to tell you about is that given the fact that all this financial thing was hitting at the same time, we were also looking at digital nomad visas and relocation and that kind of thing. This whole digital nomad culture is popping up, and more countries are embracing it. But at the same time, there's also something called a pension visa or a retirement visa. And I know there's a lot of you who have been considering relocation. And those of you who are older, who already have, it doesn't even have to be a huge amount, but have some savings in the bank, you should also be looking at retirement or pension visas. For those of you who are interested in relocation, for those of you who are working online and are interested in moving around, a digital nomad visa is also very useful. But given the fact this is happening with the era of e-invoicing, you also need to be very clear about your finances. So that is something that, again, general stuff which not exactly spiritual, but general things that all of you may kind of want to know going forwards, moving ahead. V. Stormfeld says, yeah, that's important to me since I still live in a safe house. Understood. Understood. And, I am all about data protection. I mean, even if you have to give that information to a government, it should be protected. It shouldn't be something that you can legally sell. So, I actually went to a full day course. I was very proud of myself because I managed to sit up for 8 hours, which is a big achievement for me health wise. And so I was proud that I managed to do that. But I could tell from the from the poor guy who was offering the seminar, he was just like going, this e-invoicing thing is terrifying. And he has no idea how it's going to be implemented in Malaysia. But yeah, there's a big deadline and a big push for that as well. So I'm looking into alternative options to make sure that my clients' data is protected because I find that unacceptable. But yeah, so those are some of the larger things. And again, if there's anything you want to share, anything you want to ask, let me know. Let me know. This is the time to do it. We're kind of doing an unofficial hello neighbor because it has been a while since I've interacted with the community. I also just needed to rest. There's some health things that I'm also moving through at this time, but I definitely needed to rest after all of that. But I am also going to be exploring like more work on in terms of the mentorship program. I think I'm only going to do 2 people at a time because you can't really do more than that, in my opinion, and do a really good job of in-depth work. It just takes a lot. But I am going to be thinking more about Tier 5, which I want to offer in addition to Tier 23 for those with a limited income, but who still want a bit more of the astrological work. So, I'm looking forward to those projects, but kind of pacing myself because of health issues. But things are getting better bit by bit, slowly, day by day. It's always about staying in alignment and integrity and making those daily choices that keep you in that vibration. And, if you don't do that, you can't really talk about this work with integrity. Sometimes it's a case of waiting for the right opportunity to do the right thing, and sometimes it's a case of doing it when the opportunity is in the here and now. But having said that, that's what I wanted to share. That's what's going on. And I hope to be doing more lives soon, slowly bringing back the health. And yeah, unless there's anything else, any other comments or any other questions, I'm going to wrap this up. Just giving a couple of minutes for people to ask any last minute things. And yeah, to get on with the rest of the stuff. I've still got to send out the write up to 2, 3 members and so on and so forth. So I hope that information was also useful for you as you navigate the solstice. Every day is an opportunity, every single day. Sometimes it's an opportunity to face your fears. Sometimes it's an opportunity to make progress. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes you can only do one when you do the other. So, every single day, you just got to keep at it. But having said that, I send all of you very many blessings and much love. And yeah, take care. Ciao, ciao for now. Bye bye.